Coming up on this week's edition of the Mindset Podcast, episode 165, we have an amazing show for you today. Amazing topics, amazing guests. We talk about alien abductions, John McCain, Syria, Rolf Harris, so much more. Here's the music.
I bid you welcome.
BBC News from BBC World.
This is an NBC News special report.
This is a CBS News special report.
Hello, a very good morning. You're watching BBC News with Carrie Gracie and Simon McCoy.
From ITN News at 10.
Hello, good evening, good morning, good afternoon, wherever you may be around this wild, wacky, and sometimes disturbing world of ours. This is the Mindset Podcast, episode 165. I'm Gareth Davis in Los Angeles, California, and join me sprinkled throughout the globe. We have our usual cast of characters. We immediately go 5,000 miles away to London, UK, and Mr. Alex Fate. Hello, Alex.
Gareth, where the devil have you been?
Yeah, we couldn't make it last week, man.
It's been a while. War's almost broken out in the time we didn't podcast.
I have to say, that was my biggest fear, because last week, I couldn't do the show because I was up to my eyeballs in moving boxes and shit.
Oh, yeah.
And I kept thinking, what if, the war starts and we're not here to report the truth? What are we going to do?
War breaks out and nobody turns up.
Yeah, I mean, what do you do,
Well, you just be patient. They'll be patient. They'll wait for us, Gareth.
Yeah, so I called B. Hussein Obama, and I said, dude, you need to chill.
Pharaoh? You called the Pharaoh?
Yeah, I said, dude, you need to chill with this shit. You need to calm the fuck down, at least for a week, until we can get back on the show.
I had a word with China, exactly the same thing.
So, it's a good thing these people listen to us. So now we're back on the Mindset Podcast, yapping away about
they
this
certainly
stuff.
don't listen to anyone else, do they?
Of course not.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, very good. Yeah, that's true. All right, who else we got here? Let's see. Let's shoot over and say hello to Reeves. Hello, Reeves. Oh, that good, huh? Well,
that good.
Eagle-eared, not eagle-eyed, but eagle-eared listeners would have noticed that we haven't had a Paratalk for a week or so, and Reeves is a little bit under the weather.
Yeah, give me a break. I've been sick. I got the lurgy.
The lurgy.
The lurgy, and the lurgy's slowly going. So please be patient.
Yeah, so hang in there, folks. We'll be back, but Reeves has been a little sick for a little while. In fact, you sound a lot better now than you did 20 minutes ago, Reeves. I think you're
because I just blew my nose. That's why.
Okay, all right. Too much information. All right, let's shoot over to Oxfordshire and say hello to Ben. Hey, Ben.
Hey, Gareth, how's it going? It's nice to see you guys again. I missed you last week, and I hope now we're back together and not going to start the war. Just for us.
I know, and we're going to talk about all that crazy nonsense that's going on in the Middle East. There's always something going on over there, huh? Why don't they just, why, there's always news, always something happening in the Middle East. Always.
That's where all the oil is, isn't it?
Yeah, that's exactly right.
There was no trouble in Darfur until they struck oil there. There was no trouble in the Falkland Islands until they struck oil there.
Exactly.
I tell you what, if they strike oil where you're living, listeners, move out as quickly as you can.
Yeah, there'll be issues. Big time. Speaking of issues, let's shoot straight across the Atlantic Ocean and say hi to Joe Dunn. Hey, Joe.
Hello. Hey, Gareth. Hey, everybody. Ben, we might need to move Mindset Studios then, because I just checked. We're sitting on top of a huge oil.
That's right, dude.
Supply.
It's it's the Beverly Hillbillies.
They'll even start a war. They'll bring in the fracking rigs.
Oh God, yeah.
I don't know which is worse.
Yeah. So how you doing, Joe?
I'm doing really good, man. It's awesome to be back. I'm glad the show is back this week. I missed it, man. It feels like a year. It feels forever.
Isn't it strange? It's only been one episode we missed, but it seems like a while. It seems like a long time since we've sat down and all talked about this nonsense. It's strange.
I know, but it's going good, man. It's hot as hell here.
Oh, dude, tell me about it. Yesterday,
no relief.
Nightmare. Terrible.
Hot.
All right, let's bring in a guest. This week we have a special guest from Canada, eh? We have.
Hello.
Hey.
Mr. Trevor Murray from Canada. Hey, Trevor.
Hey, how's it going, eh?
They don't really talk like that up there, do they, Trevor? Be honest. Hello?
Because we're the problem childs up here.
The problem child.
We are. Yeah. And we have more oil up here. Actually, I worked up on the oil fields for about 7 months up in northern Alberta. So worked in a hospital up there. So
well, I was just going to say that one of the reasons, Ben is a former hospital porter.
Yeah.
And Trevor is a hospital porter. So we have like a little transatlantic love fest going on between Ben and Trevor right now.
Yeah, that's it. I'm totally smitten. I'm smitten.
Oh.
And I'm no longer unique. I have a rival. I'm not the only hospital porter against the New World Order now.
Right.
It's. I know. I never got fired yet for speaking my mind about how I feel about things, but
give it time, Trevor.
Yeah, give it time.
Yeah,
well,
people are
all right, buddy.
Monday morning, you're going to go to work, and it's like, Trevor, we noticed you're on a podcast with Ben. Ben is blacklisted.
That's not all they do, though. They say, Trevor, we received a complaint about you. Apparently, a couple of months ago, you did something a bit, and they'll think of something,
Yeah, they'll make something up.
They're crafty.
They're very crafty.
I'm surprised nothing has happened, because I always, I'm a big advocate for a non-government working hospital, so.
Well, maybe there's a different vibe in Canada, but if I were you, Trevor, I would definitely keep those things on the down low while you're at work.
Oh man, I used to hand out pamphlets, for Christ's sake.
Oh, jeez.
Well, I was running in London, Ontario. I was.
Hello?
Uh-oh.
Uh-oh.
The NSA have got...
Uh-oh. Here we go.
Yeah.
Hello, Trevor?
Whatever was in those pamphlets, I tell you, it was dangerous.
Yeah, you're breaking up, Trevor. You just dropped out right now. So either your internet connection isn't the greatest, or they're on to you.
Yeah, they're on to me.
one or the other.
Don't mention the pamphlets again. That's
Yeah, say nothing about the pamphlets.
No, I won't put out the pamphlet.
All right, then, guys. So let's see what we got here. Let's talk a little bit about subscriptions and donations. We got a new subscriber this week, Mr. Warren Ford from Australia. Hello, Warren. Thank you so much for subscribing and supporting Mindset Central. Great to have you on board. Keep listening. Hope you enjoy the subscriber section. If you are not a subscriber or a donator to Mindset Central, please consider doing so. If you enjoy our content, if you enjoy our shows, help us out. Help us keep the lights on, the wheels turning, and this ship afloat. We need your help to keep going and keep things running here at Mindset Central. So the more the merrier. And we also have a vast quantity of behind the scenes stuff in the subscriber section. So joining up, not only are you going to be helping us out, but you also have access to a ton of podcasts and recordings that no one else sees. So come on board, folks. Help us out. Go to the subscriber page on mindsetcentral.com. All right. Having said that, we said hello to Warren. Let's talk a little bit about Santos. I know that last week, Alex, last Saturday, I believe it was, Alex, you went to an event with Santos, who's also an Australian, I believe.
Well, he is. Yeah. And what an event. And I'm going to start by saying that I know Ben saw him a little while ago as well.
Yeah, in Leicester.
In Leicester, that was it. I was going to say London, but it was Leicester, wasn't it? Mm. He came across here and did a tour, basically, of the country. So, and we've mentioned him before. I don't know if it's the right word, but I've followed him, or I've followed his work for quite a few years now. And I'm very... to me, you go and see a David Icke on a whole day event.
Yeah,
I've done a few of those now, and you come away, I don't know, a little euphoric maybe. I mean, there's a lot of information, even if you've heard it before. It's all being repeated constantly through the day, and you don't normally have that experience. And that's what I kind of wanted with Santos. I knew his work and what he says, but I wanted to experience a full day event. and that's what I got.
How long was he talking for? How long was the event?
Well, I'll be honest. Sorry, Santos. He turned up a little bit late because he got stuck with London traffic.
Oh boy!
But that's not surprising if you live in London. Trust me. And but it was from I think I can't remember now. I think it's like from around midday to 10 o'clock at night. That was the idea. So yeah, you're talking at a full.
Yeah, that's a big.
It's like
big
an
show.
Ike session. Yeah.
Yeah, because Ike does the same thing. He does a massive 8 or 9 hour deal.
Exactly.
So yeah, same thing.
Yeah, and that's what and it's a very different experience taking something in for that long compared to just a couple hours. So
sure, but I know exactly that there is a kind of euphoric feeling when you walk out of there, when you walk out because you're surrounded by like-minded people, right?
Exactly.
You're surrounded by people who are kind of on the same wavelength, and you can talk about this stuff openly and not get that look or a snicker or something or someone calling you a mental case.
It's not even just that you don't get a snicker or a funny look. It's that, as you say, like-minded people.
Yeah, totally.
And how rarely does that happen in this sort of world of ours? So, yeah.
So any pearls of wisdom, any major standout pieces of information that was passed on?
Well, Santos talks about synchronicity. He did sovereignty, was one of his main lectures, as it were. So he will cover a lot of the talk about the New World Order things. Yeah, in fact, see, I have a problem. Did you know that, Gareth?
Which one?
Well, I've always found it a little difficult to explain this. What he talks about, this word synchronicity, for example. His YouTube site is called Mr. Astrotheology, and astrotheology is what he deals with. And these words, they all sound a bit strange to people when they're not used to them.
Yeah.
But yeah, I read books. I read books. There's a song, all good people read good books. Yeah. And I read what I thought were good books, and I did that for a long time, taking in different information, learning things, whatever. And I've said before, it was only last year that really I felt this. So instead of it being information and I've got knowledge, it's I became connected to the knowledge. Yeah. Well, that's how I felt anyway. I mean, whether I did or not, that's just my perception, perhaps. But all of what he talks about is essentially all things being connected, as above, so below, and that we are not separate systems. We are one system.
Right.
And again, it sounds airy-fairy, doesn't it?
Well, that's the thing. Whenever you
could say astrology in a simple way.
Sure.
The prediction of star signs or our movement through the sky, so we see different star signs, that is predicted. Yeah, and so we can have a sense of what will happen tomorrow. The sun will come up tomorrow, and if we say that ourselves,
well, in fact, I mean, as far as
we have a sense of prediction to ourselves.
As far as the sun coming up tomorrow, I think you can bet your bottom dollar that the sun will come up tomorrow. But it's very strange to say that, because sometimes you'll think a thought or come to a conclusion in your mind that makes perfect sense. Try relating that to someone else and not sounding like a complete fucking imbecile.
Yeah,
it's very, very difficult.
I just want to wrap up my little bit because I'm talking a lot here. I appreciate. Okay. What he's trying to say is that there's a lot of knowledge of this connection, and this goes back a long, long way. And books like the Bible, for example, are a record of this. But that's what they're telling. They're telling astrotheology stories. You have to interpret the stories differently.
Yeah.
Okay, and that we can use another word, the Illuminati. Those in power understand all of this.
Right.
Is that making sense, or is that sounding more too?
No, that makes sense. That makes sense to me. But I'm sure we have a handful of listeners and maybe even panelists who might be like, "What?" But I don't know. But all in all, a great day.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, just so pleased that I went.
Well, let me ask you this, Alex. Did you come away with books or T-shirts or a Santos mug?
No, I didn't do any of that. None of that at all. It was great to actually meet and talk to Santos a little bit. That's what I really wanted, because I mean I've had a few exchanges of emails, if you like.
Yeah.
But it was great to meet him in person.
Oh, that's awesome. That's
Sorry,
cool.
I couldn't have gone and met you, Alex. I was hoping to join you there, but unfortunately I was not able to in the end.
Yeah, that was a shame. That would have been good. Next time.
Yeah.
Next time. So this Santos, very cool. Keep your eyes peeled for Santos if he comes to your town. I don't know whether he's going outside of the UK on his tour, but if he does, go pay him a visit. Go check out his presentation and give you some thinking material.
And I'll definitely say I think a lot of the esoteric things that are talked about, the signs and the symbols, and I'm not saying he's right on everything, but he will place meaning behind them.
Sure. Oh yeah, but
it opens up a whole new world.
It's food for thought, Alex. I mean, whether or not you agree, disagree, whatever, it's thinking material. It's stuff to rattle around your head so you come to your own conclusions. Yeah, it's all good stuff.
I mean, I've just got. I don't stop doing it. Sorry, I've just got the symbol of the goat in my head. Okay, and there are so many symbols of the goat. In fact, near this was in Clapham where I swim, not too far away from there. Is an actual like a restaurant called the Goat, and you go to the internet, type it in, you'll see it. It's got a great big golden goat on the top, Masonic floors, all the rest of it. Just a little restaurant.
Yeah.
And if you think of all the majestic animals in the world, you wouldn't think of the goat.
No.
But if you look at the star signs,
right,
and you appreciate this is the start of a new year, a beginning of a new age, then it makes sense that animal is used.
Yeah.
So.
All right.
I ramble.
Very good. Let's change gears a little bit and get into some news and other topics. Now, last week, I mentioned on, I think it was on Mindset Live, that we weren't able to do a show last week because I was up to my eyeballs in a yard sale. So for the past 2 weeks, we've been rummaging through storage boxes and getting a bunch of stuff that we were going to get rid of in the yard sale. And I found all kinds of things that I'd either forgotten that I had or just stumbled across. And back in the 1990s, I used to be an avid video recorder, recording all manner of news clips and documentaries that were broadcast on regular television concerning the strange, the unknown, the supernatural. Anything that came on, I would throw in a VHS tape into my VCR and hit the record button. So I came across a tape this past week that included just a 12-minute segment from a television show from 1994 called Dateline. Now, Dateline is like an American nightly journalistic news program where they get in-depth into different subjects. It's like 60 Minutes, I guess, same kind of thing. And I think Dateline is still going. I'm not sure. I think it's still on. But back in 1994, they did a piece on alien abduction. And they interviewed a bunch of abductees, and they talked to Dr. John Mack, who's since passed away, but they interviewed him. But here's something that really leapt out at me that I found absolutely fascinating, that I'd completely forgotten about and have not seen anywhere else. And that is... you know, when somebody's abducted by aliens or whatever they are, a lot of people or abductees, they try to capture the event on videotape or audio, and they put like motion detected motion cameras or motion or sound recorders so that if anything happens, they'll be picked up. And I've always thought and or believed that there's never been any evidence that has worked this way. In other words, you could set up high-tech camera equipment and you could be abducted, but these cameras won't pick up anything. Then I saw this clip from 1994, and this is pretty amazing. There was this lady who's an abductee, and she had a cassette recorder that was voice activated or sound activated. So in other words, you set it up so it'll sit there for hours and hours and hours, but if there's any sound that's loud enough, it automatically switches on the device and starts recording. And she claims to have recorded these aliens or whatever they are making noise and saying words and phrases to her on the tape. So what I've done here, and this kind of ties into EVP also, because sometimes with EVP, as Reeves will know, you hear the sound, you'll sound human, but you'll have no clue what the thing is saying until somebody says it, and then it makes sense. So we're going to play a little game here. I'm going to play the clip of the sound that she recorded, and when the way she describes it makes perfect sense and it sounds completely clear. But as you guys have never heard this before, I want to see if you can try and decipher what is being said, if anything, which might add credence to her tale or not. So here's the first part of the clip. Now, in the beginning, you'll hear a couple of clicks and or bangs, and then a word and or phrase. So have a listen to this. I'll put the volume up pretty loud so you can get a good feeling for it. If you're wearing headphones, listen intently. Here we go. I'll play it again. Any takers?
I couldn't hear very much at all.
Was it? Well, can I say something or not?
Absolutely. Go ahead.
Was it "Don't Wake Her"?
Let's try it again. Ready?
We're coming to get you.
We're coming to get you. All right, ready?
Barbara.
We're coming to get you, Barbara.
Now Reeves has said that.
Well, see that's the danger. Is like as soon as
that's always often the case, isn't it? If someone tells you what's
right, then you hear it. So that was the first one with the clip. So what they did then at the news studio, they took this tape and they cleaned it up. And they got rid of the background hiss, and they took the clicks from the beginning, and they isolated the part of the sound where these aliens and or creatures, whatever they are, were actually speaking English words. And I'm going to play that right now to see if this kind of makes things a little clearer. So have a listen to this. Any ideas?
To me, I can't even make it out. It's just so fast.
I hear words. I mean, I still interpret it as something like "Don't wake her" or something. But
don't wake her.
Loaded myself now.
This doesn't sound like a human
Klingon,
voice.
and it doesn't sound like that. So,
what do you think it is, Trevor?
I don't know. Like I can't make it out.
All right, let me play. I'm going to play it just once. Listen.
Oh, I can't. It's really. I mean, it doesn't sound like a human voice. That's for certain.
Sounds kind of robotic, huh?
Yeah.
It reminds me
also, it could be a command, something like "Don't wake up."
Let's try it again. Ready?
Yeah, I hear the "Don't wake up" now, but that's probably because Reeves put it in my head.
I'm throwing it out, so I'm front loading everyone, so they're listening.
It could be that.
So.
Yeah. It could be that.
Okay.
Don't wake up.
Don't wake up.
This is not exterminate.
Yes. Obey. All right, now I'm going to play the complete clip with the interview. This is only a minute, 30 seconds long, where they talk about.
I think he's saying, "I'll make tea."
Let's try.
I'll make tea.
I'll make tea.
I'll make tea.
Alex.
All right, so let's have a listen to this, and this will reveal all. Okay, ready?
Facts are what everyone is looking for. And critics say there's no hard evidence to support Dr. Mack's theories, only assertions like David Jones's scars and a tape recording Mary Oscarson played for us. She says she was sleeping alone in her house one night when she may have captured the commands of one of her visitors on a voice-activated tape recorder.
And when I woke up, I decided to rewind my tape. And the next thing I heard on that tape were 3 distinct sounds. The third thing is a robotic-sounding voice saying, "Don't wake up."
Dateline took the tape to the audio engineers at NBC, who amplified it and took out background noise. This is how it sounds. Listen again. Do you hear any words?
We don't have any respectable physical evidence that any reliable scientist, any reputable scientist would respect.
You nailed it, Reeves.
Well, I am a bit of a connoisseur of EVP, so
You nailed it, man.
Yeah,
I'm impressed.
If you slow it down by half, everyone would have got that. If you slow it down by half.
But see, that's the amazing thing with this, though, because it sounds just like a random sound. I mean, listen.
Yeah.
All right, but when you say it says "Don't wake up," it sounds like "Don't wake up" in a robotic, alien-sounding voice.
How is
right.
she recording this?
I'm still hearing someone saying they're going to make tea.
They'll make tea.
That's all I hear. Sorry.
Anyway. So what
happened in this case?
I don't know. I have no idea. This was a tape I found last week, and it was recorded in 1994.
Do you know it's not the only one? There's another one from 2010, and it's actually a video, not audio. Do you want me? I'll post it to you.
Yeah.
This was actually, I met the lady she uses a false name. She calls herself Sonia. That's not her real name. But this is a video which actually shows her. This is really creepy to watch, and she's not the kind of person looking for publicity. In fact, she's a Muslim lady, and she's very shy. She wears like a burqa, and this is what she filmed because she suspected she was having contact with aliens, or she called them the jinn, which is like a Muslim. It's a figure from Muslim mythology. It's like these beings from a parallel world, and all Muslims know about the jinn.
Yeah.
And they take people just like the aliens do. And she suspected she was having these contact experiences. Her husband is a expert in CCTV. He's an engineer.
Right.
So he set up CCTV in their bedroom thinking, well, if that's happening to her, maybe we'll capture it. And guess what? He did. And this is a lady who's not looking for fame and fortune, I should stress. She appeared on the video, the Exopolitics video, or the conference in 2011, with her face blanked out using a false name. And it's quite a creepy thing to watch. It's 5 minutes long if you've got time to sort of like go through it, but you can actually see the sheet sort of like, she just sort of vanishes from underneath the sheet. It's weird.
Yeah, I've never seen this before.
That's interesting. We've got an audio on the video.
I don't see any aliens.
There's no sound on this.
There's no aliens, though. Where's the aliens?
Talking about.
There's no sound on this, unfortunately. You can't hear any voices or anything from creatures. Why would aliens speak English anyway? I mean,
because we do.
Well, because
it'd be no use of them showing up and speaking fucking Chinese to you, Ben. Would they? You'd be like, what?
But I'm not sure they particularly want to communicate with me. They might. I mean, we don't learn it. I mean, you don't see scientists doing experiments on mice going squeak, 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 squeak whenever they talk to their mice.
Well, we. Oh, wait. What happened there? What?
You all right?
Yeah, I'm looking at this video.
It's weird, isn't it?
Oh, he's in bed with her.
That's her husband next to her.
I'm watching it too.
And then he shows up, and then
she vanishes for a while and comes back.
Yeah. That's an interesting video.
There she goes. Yeah.
We'll have to post this for the listeners.
That's pretty
very
cool.
Weird.
That's very strange.
Garrett, do you have the link to the story that you just brought up too, or no?
No, there is no link, Joe. It's simply from a video cassette that I found last week. I just pulled the audio from the video because I found it so fascinating that you had they caught one of these creatures or whatever saying, "Don't wake up," which I thought was interesting. I'd never seen or heard anything like that. I didn't even know I'd recorded this way back in the day.
But this lady just had a audio recorder at the time.
Yeah, she had like one of these little voice-activated cassette recorders back in 1994. She put it by the side of her bed and just let it sit there all night. And the next day she rewound it and found that sound.
Can I jump in and add something? Or?
Absolutely, go right ahead.
Yeah, actually, the wife and I, about a month ago, watched a movie with Mila Mokovich. I think that's her last name. And it's supposed to be on a true story of a psychiatrist who worked in Alaska. And
Fourth Kind.
I can't remember the name of the movie. And but apparently she did all these audio recordings. And when you played that, it reminded me of that part in the movie. She swears that the psychiatrist it's based on a true story where people were getting abducted in this town in Alaska, and apparently Alaska has the highest rate of alien abduction.
Really?
Yeah. The FBI they're investigating more incidents in Alaska than any other part in the United States, apparently. So it was a really interesting movie. I actually, she played it really well, but I think it's from about 2008 or maybe 2009.
I know. I went to see it. It's called The Fourth Kind. I went to see it in a cinema, and my jaw dropped. It really did. I mean, they've said that it's fake, but the talk about it being fake came out after it had been released. So I don't know. I mean, it's hard to say.
Yeah, it's the same as Joe. I've heard of it. I just haven't seen it. I'm gonna have to check it out now.
But Mila Jovovich, that's it. She's in the zombie movies, the Resident Evil movies.
Yeah.
But she, it's really spooky, isn't it, Trevor? I mean,
it is. And the psychiatrist, when they actually show her what she looks like, she looks like a gray alien with hair, like a combination of that girl from The Ring. It was just, she's very scary to look at. But her daughter is missing, and they couldn't, I guess, charge her with anything. No one found her guilty. But and she's got these audio recordings that sound like that, and it's really, it was a good movie, and I thought, it's really. Just terrifying. I guess the one fella killed his wife and kid.
Don't spoil it for us, Trevor. We don't want the whole story.
Oh, okay.
and at the end, when no, say no more.
But that audio recording reminded me of that movie. I thought, yeah, she did some recordings like that. And
yeah, I was a little, because I was going through this tape, and because I'd recorded a ton of stuff on Abduction, because in the 90s, Abductions was kind of hot news. It's kind of gone away now. Nobody reports on alien abductions now. It's never on the news ever.
Why is that, Gareth?
It's the fad, the publicity fad has kind of it's had its day. But these things are still happening. I mean, the phenomena hasn't gone away. Just the rabid news reporting of it kind of has.
Do you think that? Because one thing I've always questioned with this is, like Trevor just said, Alaska's one of the main places for abductions. America, obviously, there's an awful lot of reports there. The Ben and Reeves, what do you think? Compared like the UK to America, would you say we have more or less reports of that?
Well, I mean, the place in the world which has the most UFO reported is Scotland. That's the most UFO. That's the most. Seems to be, for its size and population, it's a much smaller country, obviously, than the USA. It has the most UFO reports in the world. As far as Alaska, I just say that this place where it's set, Nome, is one of the remotest and most inaccessible places on Earth, and it's very hard to get to.
Just jump in the film where the film's allegedly based on. The reason for a lot of interest was because a lot of people were committing suicide, and the suicide rate had gone up. And a lot of people were talking about that they were experiencing strange phenomenon, and of course things went from there. There is conjecture to say that the film is based on some fact, and that the film has been kind of padded out with some not so much fact. But I mean, it's up to every individual to watch the film and do their own research and come to their own conclusions.
All of these types of movies, though, Reeves, are sensationalized. I mean, it's a movie.
Definitely. Just they got to get the people in the seats.
Exactly.
Watching the film.
It's all blown up out of proportion, but there's probably still some strong elements of truth in the movie.
Yeah, the base, the base of it, yeah. As regards the abduction phenomenon around the world, obviously America being a huge continent and many different, different people. I think what's more interesting that I find is a lot of the people, no matter what race they come from, no matter what belief they have, they all kind of experience the same thing.
Yeah.
When you pull it all down and pull away all the nuts and bolts, they experience the same. The experience, the core experience is the same. They're in bed, they wake up, they can't move, they find themselves drifting through a wall or drifting out a window. And that's that kind of examination thing. And so I think that the core experience is the same, but obviously on a larger population, populated areas are going to have more of a personal experience rather than other places. I think that's just quite some just basic mathematics. But but yeah, definitely. I'm more of I see. I don't think the alien. I don't want to sort of shun away the whole nuts and bolts side of the whole alien kind of abduction scenario. I do believe a lot of the alien abduction scenario is on a conscious level, is on a level of mental consciousness rather than it being physical. It's more of a somehow if there are these individuals out there that have these more involved powers than what we have, they're able to mentally enter our mindset, our consciousness, and do what they need to do. And the reason that we experience it as a real phenomenon is because, just like a dream, when you go to sleep and you dream of a fantastic dream, none of that is real. It's all a construct of your mind, but none of that is real. But whilst you're in the dream, everything is real,
Right.
The stone floor that you're stood on is real. The wind in your hair is real, but you're in a dream. Your mind is creating that. But I'm not to say that your mind is creating the abduction scenario, because there's a lot of people out there that come away and they have, they've got implants, they've got marks on them that they never had before. And as we've talked about before, Gareth, there's the group abductions as well, where people experience the same thing in large groups.
Oh, sure, yeah, and there's physical evidence. There's the scoop marks, the cuts, the implants. There's. Yeah, you know what? I saw this thing land in the backyard, and the next thing I knew, it was 4 hours later. And then they look out in the backyard, and there's burn marks where this thing landed, or I was abducted at 8 o'clock. Oh, it's funny you should say that, because I went into your room at 8:15 and you were gone. I thought these kind of things. There is a physical element to it. But I want to ask Alex, because he was very specific in asking you guys about the ratio of abductions. Was there a reason behind that, Alex?
Yeah, because all these things are. For lack of a better word, excuse me, you're not going to like this, circumstantial. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Now I know. Okay. On the other side of the coin, you're saying that there's a lot of physical evidence.
Right.
And I hear you, and I've heard of lots of things as well. But rather than just regurgitating that a little bit, I'm saying, okay. Trevor mentioned that in Alaska, it's a huge high spot for this, and my question is, okay, then instead of moving on, just stop and say why. What is there about that region that could have some influence? Now, I know if there are aliens abducting there, we aren't in the minds of an alien, but we can look at that region and say that what is causing this particular place, and is there somewhere else? Like Ben mentioned, Scotland. Are there connections with these types of places?
Good question.
And what is it that's likely to influence this somehow? Can we connect to it? With our own understanding.
They've done. That is a great question, Alex, and the areas might be something to do with it. But there has been a study that most people who have abduction experiences, not all, but most people, are from Northern European descent. Northern Europe, Scandinavia, UK, places like that. People from Northern Europe, they're more likely to be involved in the abduction scenario. Now,
that's where most of the reports come from. That's where most of the reports come
reports from Africa.
Oh, absolutely, of course. No, that's what I'm saying.
But that's serious. Yeah, but I'm ignorant on this. I have some information, but not as much as you, I think. How much is reported from Africa? It's a huge continent.
Much less.
There's much less. Now, obviously, are there people taken in Africa and report very similar? Absolutely, no question. I mean, the population of Earth, regardless of your racial identity, whatever it is, it's all covered by this phenomena. Whether you're black, white, Asian, whatever, it's involved. But having said that, the overwhelming majority of people that are involved in this have a Northern European ancestry.
I'll tell you an account, actually, that happened in I think it was I can't actually know the village, can't remember. It was an African village, a small village, and there were a number of people that were over a period of, I think it was 3 months, that were having visitations, similar to what we in the West would call an abduction scenario. And they put it down to that the town was infested with devils.
Yeah.
And that they looked at it from more of a religious slant, and that the devils were coming to punish them for just basically not doing the right thing. And this went on for a number of months, and then it kind of faded away.
Well,
I think that a lot of these cases, the abduction cases that do happen in other parts of the world, are not reported because they're interpreted in a totally different way.
Absolutely. Your culture colors your view of the phenomena. I mean, in years gone by, I think the famous UFO researcher Jacques Vallée went into this in a number of his books. Most notably, was it Passport to Magnolia, where he talks about ancient Northern European fairy folklore, about the fairies would come and make people disappear. And they would vanish, and then they'd bring them back, maybe hours or days or weeks later. And there's an enormous parallel between the modern UFO abduction phenomena and the fairy lore of ancient Europe.
I think there's a cultural influence here. It's partly cultural. It's also perhaps to do with media. It's perhaps to do there's a more developed media in many parts of the world and more investigators. But it does seem. I mean, I do wonder if the fact the sort of like the racial preference of aliens, that is people of Northern European descent, is, as Reeves said, it's partly cultural. It's to do with interpretation, also partly to do with the way people report these things to others in the media. For example, in 1997, there was a Roswell type incident in Botswana in the southwest of Africa. Now that was almost unheard of. It only recently came to light in the West. And today there's a couple of articles on it, but it seems to be there's quite a good evidential base. Documents from, apparently the South Africans handled it. The Botswana government allows the South African Air Force in to handle it. But this is an example of perhaps there's several black spots in various areas where these things do happen, but they just don't get out.
Right, that's true. Yeah, I would agree. Yeah, I mean it's.
Now you mentioned.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I was thinking of Alaska, and the only thing I can really think there, I'm trying to think on like a human connection, is the HARP. I'm not too big on it.
Okay.
I don't know, but does Scotland have anything like that? Like a research facility like that, or
yes, it has multiple. It's the only place in the UK where nuclear weapons are currently in place. After the end of the Cold War, all the others were moved out, but they have the Trident Centre there, the Trident base. There's lots of sort of signal stations and things like that. All kinds of antennas and rumours of there's the Machrihanish base. There's a massive military presence there, yeah, I mean it's also there's vast remote areas as well, which you don't get maybe in England. I mean Wales you do, but not so much in England. So again, UFOs do seem to like it to operate in areas which are very remote and inaccessible. And Nome, which is the town in Alaska where the fourth kind is said to have happened, if it's real, if it really did, is one of the most remotest and inaccessible places on Earth. You can't even drive there. There's no roads. You have to fly.
You've got to fly into it, haven't you?
Yeah.
Or you can take a ship there in the summer, but in the winter it's completely iced in, and you've got to fly. There's no other way to get there, and it's literally thousands of miles from anywhere else.
I'm gonna have to check out this movie now. You guys got me interested. I've known about this movie for a long time, but I've never actually gotten around to watching it. So maybe I'll have to dig that out.
It was worth watching. Like I watched it, start to finish, and
right.
Yeah.
It reminds me of there's a couple movies, but when Fire in the Sky came out,
yeah,
and was that a true story kind of deal, And it was more of a
Fire in the Sky was.
That was scary. That was a lot of evidence to back that account up, especially a lot of witnesses.
Fire in the Sky, I think, is a true story. It really happened. There really was a Travis Walton, and the multiple witnesses, tons of documentation. I firmly believe that was the real deal. Now, admittedly, in the UFO field, as in many fields that we talk about on Mindset, there's a lot of bullshit associated with it, right? There's a lot of muddying of the waters. There's a lot of con men and a lot of outright liars that are invested in this stuff. So it's very difficult sometimes to sort the wheat from the chaff, to dig through the bullshit to find the little grains of truth, the real gems. But I personally believe that Travis Walton is being honest in his account of what happened.
I mean, I got that same feeling from the film, and I remember just watching that for the first time and just being really startled by it. And then, but then again, a movie that comes out, you have to wonder how much muddy of the waters is there, Gareth, like you were saying. Like, when they put a movie out, it's got to be entertainment, too.
Oh, absolutely.
So they have to add things in, and I wonder about with this movie, The Fourth Kind.
Well, can I just say that as Gareth said earlier, that when you, for example, Fire in the Sky, when he wakes up on the ship and there's all the pods and
that's all make believe.
He never experienced any of that.
Yeah, that's all nonsense.
That's really scary,
all
man.
That's added.
Yeah.
But if you want to find out the real story, if you type in Travis Walton, he does a UFO Expo. There's like a 2-hour lecture he does on YouTube.
Or you can get the book. The book is the Walton Experience, which is still available. But it's a great book, and then that gives the detail. I think that when you watch the movie Fire in the Sky, I think everything in that movie is very, very accurate until he gets on board the ship. Then all that part is made up and sensationalized for the movie. But other than the spaceship part, the movie's very accurate.
But doesn't that hurt the credibility of the story?
No, not at all.
Well, it does slightly.
No, not really, because and he's been interviewed about this. He said that he had nothing to do with that. They bought his story, right? The whole scene on the ship. That was not his story. That was the movie studio story. That was what they did to sensationalize it. And if you asked him what happened, he'll say, "Well, whatever they show in the movie, that didn't happen. That's nonsense." What he relates is probably just as terrifying, but so much more stranger and bizarre that if they had done what he witnessed on film, you would have just been like, what the fuck is this? You'd have been scratching your head like, I don't even understand what just happened.
I'd rather have seen the real story, because when they made a film about Whitley Strieber's experiences with Christopher Walken, Communion, they did make it more faithful to his real story, to the original book, and I prefer that. I prefer to see what really happened. I mean, to tell you the truth, the story of Travis Walton doesn't need any embellishing. It's exciting and amazing and mind blowing enough.
It is.
They should have just, because I mean he's and it's also, I mean it is so real. I mean there's no way that could have been faked or made up or like, there's no way.
No, I agree. I agree. I think it's a legitimate case.
I mean, the other guys were involved. They all witnessed it. They were bloody questioned by the police because they were killing him.
They were charged with murder. They thought that they had murdered his friends. Those people would have gone to prison if he hadn't shown up 5 days later.
And they honestly going to say, surely if one of them would have come forward and said, "Look, guys, we made this all up. Look, Travis is over here. Travis, come out." No.
Why would they risk going to prison?
Right.
Go ahead.
Exactly.
One thing I found interesting about that film, and they didn't play it too much, and I don't know the Travis Walton story, but there was a native in that movie, and they kept kind of panning to him in the forest. Is there a Native American connection that they know something about aliens? Or
I don't know in relation to that movie, Trevor.
Well,
I don't know.
I will say that there is a connection with a lot of people. Well, not every single one, but there is a connection, and a lot of people that have been abducted have noticed that they've the symbol of the owl has been seen a lot.
Yeah, well, the owl is in the. I think Whitley Strieber talks about this extensively in his series of books, starting with Communion. The owl is more of a screen memory. It's something that the mind creates to kind of protect itself from the strange, bizarre, and terrifying experiences that are really happening.
Do you know that's happened again and again and again? The owl, people seeing owls.
Right.
It's not only because in Fourth Kind they see owls, but also this is what Mike Oram, a friend of mine who's a contactee, he saw owls, and there's other people who've seen these just sitting on the windowsill, just staring at them. There's no real owl.
Can I just suggest there that the grey is very owl-like?
Yeah, with the big eyes. Yeah, sure.
Yeah, big eyes, sort of heart.
That's interesting. Here in Florida, for thousands of years, we had the natives here, but there was one culture, it was called the Owl Clan, and they actually found an owl totem pool in one of the rivers here back in the mid-1900s. But I thought that was interesting that you brought up the owl.
Yeah, are they no longer around, Joe? Are they?
No, yeah, they're no longer around, but they find the remnants of these peoples still, and it reminds me of what you bring this up. It's like if you look back on history, all those cave paintings and things like that, things they found on the Grand Canyon walls and all sorts of images of you don't know what unexplained things.
Right,
they're making art. They're taking photos basically with their art.
It's a good metaphor for the aliens too, because in a sense the owl's behaviour is similar. I mean, they people get abducted from their beds by these aliens who come and snatch them. Well, what owls are these sort of nighttime predators that fly around? No one can see them, no one can hear them. They're silent, they're invisible, and they just strike. And they attack. Of course, they don't eat you. They don't eat you. They do return you afterwards. But there
the
are
owl
cases
is also the owl is also associated with the watcher.
And it's a strange feeling too. If you watch an owl watching you, it's a very kind of surreal, unnerving experience.
No, it's a very alien experience.
Yeah.
They can see you. I mean, of course, because they can see in the dark. I mean, they can see you even when you can't see them.
Right.
And again, that's like the aliens. It's
like you could have the feeling like I'm being watched, and then you'll look around and you'll see this owl perched on a tree, kind of watching you. And it's as Alex said, it is a kind of very alien, unnerving feeling seeing this bird staring at you. All right, let's move on then. And let's
Don't wake up.
Don't wake up.
Oh, before we move on, I want to mention one more thing about movies and sensationalism. I've noticed, Hollywood always tries to make a lot of these movies, when you see them, like they're real. Like, remember Blair Witch when that came out? I remember thinking that was real at the end.
All right.
And it's same thing with.
Don't say that, Joe.
No, but you kind of get tricked when you go see a movie until they try to. I think they still try to pull that off with these new movies like The Fourth Kind or.
Okay.
They always based on a true story.
Paranormal Activity, whatever.
Yeah, that's Paranormal Activity. It's a good one.
You think it's real, but it's really just trying to make it seem real. But the average person might be like, "Wow," and so it's just interesting about the Hollywood doing these movies.
Yeah, it is. It's based on a true story. Yeah, the events, the names have been changed to protect the innocent, kind of thing. All right, guys.
Hello, sorry, I must have dropped out there.
Yeah, okay.
Aliens got in.
I don't have any memory of it though. Where the hell am I? I'm in the middle of the mountain.
Did you see an owl on your desk?
Maybe.
Okay,
There's a Bigfoot beside me.
Just remember, don't wake up. All right, guys. Let's
better than the reality.
Let's go ahead and take a break. Then we'll get into some news. So we'll be back very shortly, folks. Smoke 'em if you got 'em.
Mindset Daily.
Mindset Daily, hosted by Joe Dunn, a twice weekly and sometimes daily wrap-up on the current news of the strange. Every episode will highlight and comment on news stories that have either not made it into the mainstream or just grabbed our attention. Mindset Daily, your bite-sized alternate news fix. You can listen to Mindset Daily at mindsetcentral.com.
Mindset Daily. You're listening to the Mindset Network. You can now hear all of the Mindset Central podcasts while on the go with the Stitcher Smart Radio app. On-demand news, talk, and more on your mobile phone. The latest episodes at Mindset Central are always available for you. No syncing needed and no memory or storage wasted. Available on your iPhone, iPad, Android phones, and beyond. Downloading is easy. Go to Stitcher.com or check out your app store. Stitcher Smart Radio. the smarter way to listen to MindsetCentral.com.
Oh, I think I'm going straight. Oh, I got these aching veins. My ideas are all done. It's like a dial-up. My dad's come, oh, well, I'm funny. Oh, as I'm swallowing, suddenly he just cleared out my insides. Trying to pull at the leftover meat, leftovers from all your wrong scenes, leftovers from all your wrong scenes, leftovers from all your wrong scenes, leftovers from all the wrong. When the body's on the beach and they're buried in the and our brain begins to butter. I don't think that I'm capable of love. Oh, what a life I lead. Oh, as I'm licking, picking, pulling at my scabs, which was the meaning. Deep within, all the wrong scenes, leftovers from all your wrong scenes, leftovers from all the wrong scenes, leftovers from all the wrong scenes, leftovers from all the wrong.
And we're back.
Oh, I think I'm going straight.
Hey, man, that was
I've got these aching veins.
Pale.
That's a weird room.
Pale piss.
Like a dial-up.
That was Pale Piss there by Weird Womb. Tell us about them, Joe.
Yeah, this band just released an album. That song "Pale Piss" is on there. Interesting track there. But the band is called Weird Womb. And
Weird Womb.
Just played them on Mindset Radio episode 42. Also, the album is called Ruined by the 90s. How about that, Gareth?
Ruined by the 90s.
Ruined by the 90s, man.
I think we're all ruined by the 90s in some way. The 1990s.
Yeah, I think we were. This band is really awesome. I highly recommend checking them out. And if you like more music like that, check out Mindset Radio Hour. There's plenty more there.
Yeah, no, it was good stuff. Very cool. All right, guys, let's get into the news. Now, the main news deal here is obviously what's going on in Syria. But before we get into that, and don't worry, we are going to get into it. I want to talk a little bit about John McCain, Senator John McCain. And a couple of things. He's been in the news this week. Number one, because he's very pro-war, and he's chomping at the bit to get over there and start fucking around with the Syrians. But also, something kind of strange happened this week. He was kind of he was busted playing video games. And I have a clip here which I want to play. But this is I don't even know what to say. This is bizarre beyond belief. So let's have a listen to this. This is John McCain getting busted for playing video games while in the Senate.
Few who would ever call a Senate hearing a particularly riveting thing, but Tuesday, while this was going on,
the Assad regime, and only undeniably the Assad regime,
this is what Arizona Senator John McCain was doing. iPhone poker. A Washington Post photographer snapped that photo of the high-profile senator during testimony from Obama administration officials making the case to strike Syria.
Occasionally I get a little bored, but the worst thing about it is I lost thousands of dollars.
Thousands of fake he later clarified. But while he's laughing it off, the idea that a seasoned senator would not be paying attention at a crucial hearing to discuss what's arguably the country's most important foreign policy issue right now isn't sitting well with some. Conservative commentator Lou Dobbs tweeted, "Frivolous minds, serious business." Criticism McCain is jokingly dismissing. Tuesday's hearing lasted more than 3.5 hours. The Senate Foreign Relations Committee has proposed a deal that would put a 60-day deadline for military action in Syria. A 30-day extension is possible under that deal, which could see a vote on Wednesday. For Newsy, I'm Christina Hartman.
So, I mean, don't get me wrong. I get it. You know, you're in these long, boring meetings. You know, it's tough to stay focused. It's tough to stay awake sometimes. You know, we've all been in those meetings at work where you're like, oh, my God, get me out of here. But they're discussing something pretty serious here. They're discussing life and death. Right? They're not talking about the sales figures. They're not talking about how they should change things. They're talking about life and death.
Absolutely, Gareth. That's exactly what I thought. I think he's gambling with our lives.
It kind of reflects the lack of the lack of seriousness and the lack of real. You know, it's like, well, you know, whatever happens, it's not going to bother me kind of attitude.
Yeah. We'll lose more than $30,000 if this war goes ahead. I mean, people are going to lose their lives, and he won't. He'll be okay, but he stays at home in his comfy office. It's other people who have to face the bombs and guns and things. It is a video here where someone actually challenges him. This bloke challenges as a woman as well. Another one where a woman challenges him. But this is. I just watched this one. I've only watched this one so far, but it's basically a man. He's at a meeting. He's at a public meeting, and a man stands up and basically says, one day I'm going to arrest you. You should be arrested for treason." Here it is, and it's really, really good.
Yeah, I saw that clip. I don't have it.
It's the Syrian woman who has a go at him.
Yeah, there was another guy who got into it and just told him straight up that he's a traitor. The American government doesn't give a shit about the American people. It's all self-interest. And he just laughs it off.
Yeah, because they've got to a point now where not just the American administration, the British administration, the British government are the same, and there's many other European governments that are the same. They've got to a point now where they know no matter what they do, or no matter what they choose to do, the people of the land won't do anything. They'll moan and bitch about it, but then it'll be forgotten. And they know that they can get away with it, so they just go ahead and do it. Why do you think that they're selling off huge chunks of the NHS over here, and they're privatising everything? Because they're making shitloads of money from it, and yet it's the same with the war. Yeah. They know that if they push for war, that as soon as they can get in there, that they're going to reap any financial benefit they will reap. Yeah. You know? For many years to come. They've got this kind of attitude now where, well, we're going to do it anyway. We don't really give a shit what you think.
So if he was sitting here in this hearing and playing his games, his attitude didn't read like, well, I don't need to really be paying attention. I know he was sitting there for 3 hours.
It's like, I don't care attitude. It's like, whatever, just get on with it. I've got stuff to do.
I'm playing poker, He in the clip too, it's interesting. He's like, I lost thousands of dollars playing the game. Like, he's joking around.
He's joking around. Yeah. I mean, this is not, we're talking about people's lives here. We're talking life and death, and he's just laughing it off. It's a joke. Oh, I was bored. I was playing poker.
I lost money on it, too, by the way. And it's like, and the guy, whoever took the photo of him, that's pretty amazing. They snapped a shot of him doing it.
Yeah.
Well, it's funny because, there's one of the big warmongers in Britain at the moment is William Hague. He's one of the ones who's banging the wardrobe, cheering on Cameron. I think he's Cameron's. What is he? What job is he doing now? Apart from being a general sleazebag, foreign secretary or home secretary? Foreign secretary, isn't it? Yeah. But he's rather like McCain. I mean, he used to be prime minister. McCain, I know, ran for president against Obama last time or the time before. But now he's. These politicians, just to give you an example, I mean, it's slightly different, but some photographs have been taken of William Hague too, and some of them have not been released yet, but they are in press files. And apparently they're photographs of him in a hotel room with a young man on his staff, and apparently they are inappropriate. That's what they are. Apparently, they are sort of flagrant.
I'm shocked. I'm shocked that a politician is involved in anything like that. I'm blown
I've got
away.
a feeling that they get sent to his wife if he doesn't do as he's told and he doesn't support the government.
So, Alex, you've been kind of sitting back here monitoring the situation, observing us yap about this. What's your take?
This is my aliens. This is well, obviously there's been so much news out there, and I try to listen to the politicians. I watch the videos and things, but Ben just mentioned William Hague. I feel sick the second that I hear his voice, the split second I hear it, and I'm going to disagree with all of you. Absolutely, I'm going to disagree. And maybe I'm wrong, but the news is made up. McCain was not caught playing poker. He played poker to be caught, to be seen, to laugh off, to joke, to spit in our face.
What's the end game there, though? What's the upside of him being busted for playing poker in a meeting like that?
I think you got different ways of coming from that, from his view to our collective view, but it's trivializing everything, isn't it? I think it's putting the war, the potential. Sorry, Joe, but the potential World War III. It's putting it down to it's just a game. And how many times have we said that before? How many times have I said that before? It's just a game. It is a game to them.
Yeah,
okay,
I would agree with that.
And he's rubbing our noses in it. That's how I see it. So I don't think it was coincidence. I don't believe in that.
So let me jump over and ask Trevor. What's your take on all this, Trevor? Being up in Canada, there. What's the Canadian view of what's going on in Syria?
I'm sharpening up my hockey stick as we speak, because that's the only weapons that we have up here, hockey sticks. I have all my family is in Michigan. They're in the States, so I fear for them. My mom was just here for a couple weeks with the new baby, and I try to talk to them about stuff like this, and I fear for them more than I fear for myself up here in Canada. I guess if the United States ever wanted to drive some Abrams tanks up here and take over the oil fields, they could. So, Alex's take on this is something I hadn't thought about. Maybe they're just subconsciously trying to get people to think, hey, this is just a game. Don't worry about it. We'll go into Syria. We'll kill a couple 100,000 people. My take on it, too, is don't Syria and Iran have a pact? Like, if either country's attacked, that they support each other? So,
well,
I'd just say that's the perfect time to introduce my McCain clip to you.
All right, let's go ahead and play that right now. But I think in kind of hindsight, Alex, you might be onto something there. Because showing that them playing a game when something so serious is, in fact, being discussed, it does really kind of trivialize it and bring it down to a this is just a game. It's just, nothing to be taken seriously.
They've presented something to us and all the media have latched onto it and shown it, and everybody's reacted the way they want them to.
Yeah. All right, let's play your clip. Here we go.
There are 5 U.S. warships in the Mediterranean right now. Russia and China allegedly are sending warships as well. Russia, China, and Iran have warned the United States of catastrophic consequences if the United States attacks Syria. What are your thoughts on that?
My thoughts are that it doesn't concern me in the slightest.
And why is that? Because
they will not act, just as they didn't act when the Israelis 4 times have taken out targets inside Syria. Syria said that they would react, and they didn't. The United States is the most powerful nation in the world, and we're not going to be intimidated by Russia and China. We are not. So I guarantee you that they will not act. If we launch these strikes against Syria, they will not act.
This guy's a fucking prick.
Whoa!
Wow, he's so confident.
Oh, please, please! I've got to say something right there. Fantastic. Isn't that what? Now, again, maybe I'm making things up here, but isn't that what they want? Us to see him as a prick, right? What happened to George Bush? Right? I saw a clip of him the other day, and I had almost forgotten how stupid he appeared. Right? No, take that on. We're so used to seeing Obama now.
Yeah.
He's such a good speaker.
Right.
Go back and watch a few Bush clips.
Oh, yeah, he's an
and you will be
imbecile.
amazed. And now, then straight after, go and look at McCain.
Yeah.
And I think he is being put in a place for us to see him that way, whether he is or isn't.
Interesting.
What John McCain just said in that clip, it sounds to me, he's sounding, to me, what he's trying to do, reading between the lines, he's saying, he seems like he's baiting Russia and China to attack. He's saying, come on, we're too powerful, you can't hurt us, we don't have to worry, we'll attack Syria if we want. Now, if you're Russian and Chinese hearing that, what are you going to think? Well, it's almost like you're being goaded.
Well, it's in a way, though, Ben.
Provocation.
I mean, they're probably all in on the same deal, right?
Yeah.
They're all well aware. Okay, so if I do this, I want you to do this, and then we'll do this. Okay, great. All right. So once you see me do this, you act this way. All right, awesome. Let's go. And action. It's as if it's all like staged. That the responses are set up for whichever way they act.
Real quick, I want to say go back to Alex's point about McCain, and I liked his viewpoint on that, like showing that it's just a game, playing this game on his phone during a hearing. I also kind of took it as like I don't care attitude, like I'm kind of just here, almost like the decision's already been made. Like, what's the point of this hearing? Yeah. We already know what we're gonna do. This is pointless.
Right.
And he kind of got caught doing that, or he may have wanted to just show that. But he knows he's in public eye here, and he's pulling his iPhone out.
He's an experienced politician, whether you think he's an idiot or not. And doesn't it make it easier to go to war if your leader's an idiot? If you can point at people and say, "Oh, they're idiots. What are they doing?" Because if you relate to them like you, and you go, "What the heck are they doing?" No, but if they're an idiot, it's much easier. And he knows what he's doing in front of the camera, whether you agree with him or not. I don't think these people are quite as idiots as they like us to think they are.
Yeah,
they like to. What they do is, this is why I think you've got a good point there with him playing computer games. That there's a sense, it's this kind of arrogance or triumphalism that goes back to the Roman Empire, because they were like that as well. That they would deliberately do something that is just supremely arrogant, just for the sake of it, almost as a way of showing off. So McCain is now this guy who plays computer games. When they're talking about the deaths of millions of people. Well, and in a sense, look what I can get away with.
The two clips that were presented there, they're both painting a picture of McCain of like, I don't care. Right? He's playing the game when they're all debating it. In other words, I don't give a shit what they're talking about. And then he's saying, well, Russia and China would respond. He's like, they're not going to respond. Are you crazy? I don't care.
It's an act of contempt that he is showing towards us, and it's deliberate. It's an insult towards us, and he's saying, "Look, I'm insulting you. You're too stupid to even understand it. You're too stupid to even see it. You think I'm doing this by mistake?"
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah, that's a good point.
That's how. And like I say, rubbing our noses in it, and a scapegoat. I just came up with that phrase there. For Obama does something, we look at the idiot McCain, and what did I say earlier? The goat. Okay, now maybe I'm drawing too many conclusions here, right? Okay, but I don't think these things are coincidences. And exactly as Ben just said, let's say you're going to go to war, okay? And let's say that you're confident that you've got all these planes and bombs and tanks and whatever you've got behind you, okay? And you think, who would be stupid enough to attack us, okay? Excuse me, you're going to war, right?
Yeah.
Don't treat me like an imbecile.
Right.
Okay? Sorry, this winds me up so much, and I am fascinated. Please, I really want to hear Joe's take on what he feels about war and America and. Well, let's get. Joe's often said things on this.
Let's get Joe's take and everyone else's after this next clip, which is in regard to Syria. Have a listen. This was on this week's local news here in L.A.
President Obama has returned from Russia tonight as he prepares for a critical speech on Tuesday that is designed to win over critics of his Syria attack plan. Eyewitness News reporter Leanne Suter tells us the president seems to be facing an uphill battle. She's live in the Satellite Center with more. Leanne?
Michelle, President Obama insists the U.S. must take action against Syria and is set to take his case directly to the American people, but it likely will be a very tough sales pitch for both the public and Congress. Now back home, President Obama is turning his attention to the battle on Capitol Hill to win congressional approval of a military strike on Syria. He didn't find much support for the action of the G20 summit in Russia and acknowledges he may not find much at home either.
And it's conceivable that at the end of the day, I don't persuade a majority of the American people that it's the right thing to do. And then each member of Congress is going to have to decide if I think it's the right thing to do.
The president has yet to say what he would do if Congress votes no. So far, there is little support for striking Syria. Lawmakers from both sides say voters are deeply skeptical.
There's no question. What's coming in is overwhelmingly negative.
One poll shows 6 in 10 Americans are opposed to intervention. The president now set to take his case personally to the American people in a White House address Tuesday. Support on the international stage is almost non-existent. At the St. Petersburg summit, only France agreed to join forces with the U.S. And another red flag from Russian President Vladimir Putin, who was asked what he would do if the U.S. attacks. Will we help Syria? We will, he said. And in Beirut, Lebanon, the State Department has now ordered non-essential personnel at the U.S. Embassy to leave immediately due to security concerns as tensions over potential U.S. action in neighboring Syria rise. Now, Congress is expected to vote on military action in Syria within the next 2 weeks. Live in the Satellite Center, Leanne Suter, ABC 7 Eyewitness News.
So that just adds more fuel to this this ever-growing fire. But let's get back to Alex's original question pointing at Joe. What are your thoughts, Joe?
Yeah, I've had time to really think about this because it's one of these events that happen, and many people are so quick to just rush to judgment. And I'll admit, I'm one of them at times when it comes to this because it's such a cluttered mess. You have to really think outside of the box, think outside of yourself and your country. And you heard in the clip there, the majority of Americans are against this, and I am one of them. I don't want to have a war. I don't want us to be involved in other people's countries, and I just feel the rest of the world feels that we're like that we're these warmongers, and it's not true. But then I see things like this, McCain saying things like this. We're the most prominent nation. What are they going to do? They ain't doing nothing, and that kind of stuff drives me crazy because then that's how the world perceives us, is these politicians stepping in the limelight and saying these things, and I'm very aggravated by it. And also, I had a few other questions about this. Is everyone, the rest of the world, the international communities, the whole thing I'm hearing is that everybody's signed on board this international law that if these chemical weapons are used, that everybody else is supposed to step in and help. And apparently there was some kind of violation here, we know. Whether who supplied them, whatever, is another thing. But why isn't there's so much effort in this war, us striking and this and that, and why isn't there any effort to see how can this be stopped? How did this happen? Why isn't anybody else stepping in and asking those questions? Everything's so focused on America striking, and why isn't anybody else doing anything about it? And not that we have to do anything about it, but there's something obviously going on, and it's like nobody cares, and that just lets me down. And it's really tough for me. I don't want to go to war. And people will say, well, we weren't striked. We weren't attacked. Why should we go to war with a country that didn't attack us? Remember back in 9/11, it was the same situation a little bit here. I always think that we wouldn't have went into Iraq if 9/11 wouldn't have happened.
Sure. Yeah.
Because that was a catalyst. That gave us a reason. Remember Bush, the WMDs and
right.
the smoking gun. And here we have a situation here where we want to strike a country. We want to go in there on some capacity, but there is nothing like that now. There is no attack.
Right.
There's no terrorist attack. So it's like, I think that's why the American people aren't on board with this. They were definitely on board with it back after 9/11 because it was still fresh in everyone's minds. We got to stop this around the world, terrorism and tsunami. And that was a whole different thing. But it's kind of similar in a lot of ways. But my main issue is I feel the rest of the world sees us differently because of these politicians, and we're not like that. I'm not some guy who wants to go out and attack other countries. Now, there are people here. I heard a guy that was in the military here. He's like, I'm going to sign up for the military now again. I'm going to re-enlist because we're going to war. Yeah. There are people like that.
Oh, yeah. Well,
that's around the world, there's people like that.
I was just going to say, that's not an American issue. That's a human issue. I mean, every country in the world, there's mental cases who are running up to blow shit up.
Joe. One of my things, too, Ben, is I always go back to World War II. I always hear this, America, we dropped the nuclear bomb. We dropped the ultimate chemical weapon, if you think about it. And people do bring that up, and it's a good point. But I always go back to, what happened if we didn't? I mean, I don't know. It could have been all...
What you were saying earlier, you were saying about the 9/11 being the catalyst. And it's true. I think you're right. I don't think there would have... The Afghanistan and Iraq situation could not have been perpetuated without 9/11. You talked about this guy desperate to join the military because that we're going to war again. Well, there was that footballer. Do you remember the footballer who went and he joined the army? He was so horrified by what happened with 9/11. Of course, he didn't question it, and he said, I need to fight back against these people who attacked us." Now, he was perhaps the most extreme end of the spectrum, but a lot of Americans felt that way. And the question is, Joe, I mean, do you think that because there's several ingredients being put together at the moment. We have to, if Russia and China are involved, then we have two evenly matched sides, which is what you need for a world war. Mm-hmm. We have the sort of like a trigger point, in other words, the fuse, which could be Syria, and we have Russia, China getting involved. Iran says they'll back Syria up. Then we also, but one thing is missing is a new 9/11. Now,
that's a great point.
Do you know, I asked this question when the vote, I think we talked about it 2 weeks ago, when the vote went the wrong way. Did we discuss that on the programme, when the Britain voted to stay out of it?
No, we didn't.
We didn't. Right, it was interesting because the British Parliament voted to stay out of it. The government was defeated. They wanted to join the Americans. They were defeated. Now, I said at the time, what happened was that very, very same day, or a few hours later, there was a terrible firebomb attack on a school in Syria, which killed 10 children. And I thought to myself, that serves no purpose militarily at all, other than to shock, to horrify, and disgust. Now, I think to myself, how important is Britain to this? Because if Britain is very important, something could happen which would perhaps put more pressure on the British Parliament and the British people to go along with it. And I'm thinking, if the Congress is defeated on this, if Obama is defeated in Congress over this, Joe, you can expect something perhaps to happen to persuade the American people that this is a good idea. Perhaps it could be anything. It could just be an attack on an embassy. It could be the sinking of a U.S. warship. Or it could be something more extreme. It could be an attack on the American mainland.
Yeah.
And this whole thing about, no boots on the ground and we're just going to strike, I don't understand that. What does this do? All it does is just stir the fire, kind of. It's like, and also, Trevor mentioned, don't they have allies? If we do something, Iran and Russia's going to go, and I've already seen stories where the warships are already pulling up, and okay, if that's the case, why are they so quick to go to war? How are they any different than us? If we're the ones going to war, why isn't the rest of the world going at them? Saying, well, why are you guys pulling ships in? Why isn't anybody doing anything to help the situation? Everybody just seems like they want to go to war. That's my kind of take on it.
There's no evidence that you see, this is not being discussed quite openly in the media, but there's no evidence that Bashar al-Assad carried out that chemical warfare attack at all.
Well, yeah, the whole thing is the rebels did it, right, Ben? I mean,
yeah. Well,
right?
The rebels are saying that Assad did it. Assad saying the rebels did it. The only real evidence, there's documentary evidence to say that a company called Britam Defence, which is a British arms contractor operating through contacts in Qatar, which is a country near Syria, bought some chemical weapons in from Russia, and that seems to be the most likely source of this attack.
Oh God.
Using Ukrainian mercenaries.
Let me bring Reeves in. He's been kind of quiet. Are you still there, Reeves?
Yes. I was been listening along, and I actually thought of. I remember it being mentioned. Was it a couple of months ago that the SAS were already in Syria doing operations, and then so all of a sudden these chemical attacks pop up. And I'm thinking to myself, is things being helped along here, or is someone being smuggled weapons covertly so that they can use them? Are the rebels staging these chemical attacks to draw outside forces in to help them, fight against the government troops because the government troops are winning? It's a big shit fest, and I think that, to be honest with you, the best thing everyone could do is just mind their own fucking business. and stay out of it. Because once you start to go in, even if you're going into a situation like this to try and help people, you're only going to muddy the waters. You're only going to make things worse.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, when you have larger, more powerful countries that believe it's their right to be able to go in and change stuff, I start to become quite suspicious. Then, well, why? What's your motivation for this?
Yeah.
You want to help people, or is there something a little more here? Is there like Alex mentioned? Is there a game plan that's already been in foot, and are we kind of pushing ahead with it? And it's what we are witnessing right now is a slight derailment, and everybody's scrambling to get the train back on the track so that they can continue their focused plan. And that's why a lot of these politicians seem uninterested. I mean, I was shocked when Cameron got voted down and said, no, we're not going to war. But maybe that is part of the game plan. I don't know. Maybe that was going to happen anyway. It's all such a messed up fucking mess.
Reeves, what's our maybe Alex knows that guy you guys follow. He's a journalist, Luke Radowski, whatever his name is. I forget his name.
The guy from New York, right?
I saw a video he did. He went around the streets of New York and he asked people like about Syria. What do you think about going to war? And half the people didn't even know what was going on.
Leader of We Are Change, yeah. He did ask a lot of people regarding their thoughts on Syria, and a lot of people did come back to not really sure what he was even talking about.
I bet you
it's apathy. That's what it is. Apathy is instilled into a population through social control, and the way that you socially control large amounts of people over a long period of time is through television, because you can easily manipulate them, and that's why they call it programming. It's social programming. And once people get into that kind of apathy thinking, that kind of that hamster wheel mindset, it's like, I mean, come on, look on Facebook. You've got Alex posting pictures and saying wake up people or whatever. Most people are like, yeah, all right, yeah, I'm going to post this now. I made this today. Look at what I had for breakfast. Who gives a fuck about that?
Yeah.
There's more important things going on. And you're on Facebook posting your dinner. It's what's all that about? That's the way the people's mindset is.
Trevor,
if you look at a world map, Reeves, I bet you most people in America or anywhere maybe just wouldn't be able to point out the country.
Not just America, in the West as a whole.
Yeah.
If you held up a world map and said, point to or put a pin in most of the areas of the world that your country is involved with at the moment,
I have no clue.
Most people wouldn't even know the most basic ones like Iraq, Afghanistan.
One of the things I know, to echo Joe's statements though, one of the things I noticed when I first moved to the United States was how ignorant most, not all, but most Americans are as far as world geography. If you were just to give them a map of the world that wasn't labeled and say, point out Washington, D.C. or point out the United States, I'd think about 6 or 7 out of 10 would get it wrong.
Yeah, and if you look at the geography here, I mean, if you look at Syria and where this is happening, it is right there by Iraq, Iran.
Right.
It's all in that same area.
Sure, yeah.
And it does make you think, is a bigger picture going on here, something in the bigger picture.
And when it boils down to it, no matter what's going on, no matter what happens, the vast majority of people, they won't care. They will not give a shit. They will not give two fucks what's going on, because it doesn't affect them until their wages start dropping, or the price of milk goes up by 100%, or whatever, or there's fuel shortages, or there's or their utility bills go up. They'll moan and they'll bitch about it, but they won't think, well, now this is starting to get out of hand. What can I do? And I don't mean by going to the shed and getting a pitchfork and going, let's lynch some fucking politicians. I'm not saying that, but to actually start to question what's going on. Most people don't even question it. They just like, oh, whatever. And they don't want to even go there.
Go ahead, Alex.
Yeah. So I've been listening, and I've written down a few notes on different things, and the first thing I'd written, which I quite like this, is that war is not on the agenda, because war is the agenda. Okay? And if we can start thinking that way,
very true.
Then we're going to realise that a lot of these things aren't that crazy. That is the agenda. Okay.
Yeah, I would agree.
We're the idiots for not realising it until it's going to be too late one day.
So well, let me just say this. It's as if
really important point.
Let me just 2 seconds. It's as if the people of the world are presented by a story by the elite, by the governments, that they're working for peace. They're trying their best to avoid war, whereas in reality, the exact opposite is true.
Oh my God, what are we being told? Obama wants to go and send in technical weapons, bombs. I don't know what he wants to do, nuke the place, whatever. He wants to have some fun, right? He wants war in the name of peace. War is peace. And we are talking Orwellian speak in front of us.
Yeah.
We can't have it more.
That doesn't make sense to me.
Well, that's the point. It doesn't make sense, Joe. It's a manipulation of words. War is peace. It doesn't make sense in your head. It's impossible. Peace is peace. It's like you say. He as the leader of one of the most powerful nations in the world, he should be out working like mad to get peace. That's what he should be doing. So that's just I'm going off on one.
Well, he's a Nobel Peace Prize winner.
Yes. Yeah. Good one.
Oh, my God.
I got one very important point I want to mention. Because when I was listening, I was hearing all the words from people, okay? And where did they mention? They mentioned America, China, Russia, Iran, Iraq. All of the key words were mentioned, okay? Where was not mentioned? Where did people... What is it we're hearing? What are we not hearing? What's the word that wasn't mentioned out of all of those places? And the place that's got such a voice and you don't hear it saying much at the moment either.
Syria?
Israel.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, Israel.
One place that none of you mentioned. And in the media, it's suddenly gone... okay, yeah, there's things going on there. In fact, Egypt the other day had the largest offensive it's had in ages with tanks next to the Gaza Strip. Right? That's not in the news. That was a major offensive. Okay, Israel sent... there's stuff going on. But the point is, people aren't talking about that much. Not really. Maybe they're afraid, thinking, we don't want it to go into there, because if it will, then it'll be World War III or something or whatever. Maybe that's what we should be talking about.
In a way, Alex, I think they may be pulling the strings here. I mean, in a lot of ways.
Absolutely. Israel, ISIS, Ran, El. I mean, this pulling the strings. Yeah, who is pulling the strings? Who gains to benefit from this? I mean, there are plans for the greater Israel, an expansion of the area, and my view is on empires and this type of thing. But rather than what we are hearing, it's what we're not hearing. I think that's very important in the media right now.
I don't know what to say, guys. This is the more and more depressing stuff. I mean, these fucks that are running the planet, they're desperately working towards war, but they want to do it in a way where the people don't become aware of them working towards war. The people want the people to think that they're working towards peace and that war is something that they're desperately trying to avoid, when in reality they want war badly. Now,
well, let's look at. I'm going to go back to Iraq and the weapons of mass destruction. It was all a lie. It was all just conjecture, and it's made up just to go to war. And what did the people do? Oh well.
Well, yeah, Reeves. There's going to be Obama's doing a address, I think tomorrow or Tuesday, this week sometime, about the evidence and trying to.
Tuesday night.
Make his claim. So we'll see.
So what? Let's just say that Obama gets his way, and Congress, for whatever reason, says, "Okay, go ahead and bomb those fuckers." And he launches the missiles, and they shoot over there, and they blow up a bunch of stuff. And then Russia and China step in, and it starts to escalate. And the next thing you know, we're in a big war. What are some of the positive outcomes for them? Not us. I mean, it's bad for the people of planet Earth. This is bad fucking news, right? There's no positive outcome at all. Zero. But for them, the people at the top of the pyramid, the people that are pulling the strings and making this shit happen, what are some of the positive outcomes that will happen for them if it goes as planned?
Well, I think that they're, you got to look at it. Are you basing that on a religious war, or are you basing it on a mineral-based war, or is it just a war based on just global power? I think there's many sort of avenues to it. If you looked upon it as, I still believe that we're in a religious war, and we have been for over 2,000 years. I don't think that war ever ended. The Crusades and I believe this, and I'm against you for believing that. I don't think that ever ended. I just think it's gone on and on and on and on, and we've become so disconnected from our social. Our social construct that we don't see that anymore. We're too interested in fucking playing Xboxes and getting drunk and doing what you do, watching your fucking soaps and stuff. None of that kind of registers with us anymore. So no matter what the outcome, the only good outcome that can come of this, personally, is that it'll wake people up and think, hang on a minute, these fucks in power, they need to be fucking removed, and removed quickly. That's the only positive thing that can happen. But I still believe that people are so socially hypnotized that that isn't going to happen.
Well, I strongly believe that if this goes the way they want it to go, right, for the general people, for Mr. and Mrs. Joe Average out there, just the average person on the street, there's nothing but negativity. This is extremely bad news on many, many levels. But for them who are orchestrating it, they are rubbing their hands together with big dopey grins on their faces, because this is fucking awesome. And what I want to try and explore here before we move on to another topic is why. Why do they want war, and how will it ultimately benefit them?
Well, I suppose the only thing you could look at without putting too much thought into it is, the sale of arms. The weapons of war are where the mass profits are. If you can keep people fighting for as long as possible, even if you're fighting wars via proxy, as long as you can keep feeding those sides, just like the British did in the American Civil War, we sold arms to both sides to keep them fighting, so we could make lots of money. It comes down to I still believe it comes down to different areas. Everybody's got their own interest,
I don't know so much, Reeves. I think it might be a little more sinister than that. What's your take on it, Trevor?
Well, I just want to add a story. When I was 15 years old, there was a good friend of mine. We were sitting in his basement talking. This is going back 25 years. And he said, America, if it ever gets in a war again, it's going to need like another Pearl Harbor. And I said to him, I won't say his name, but I said, well, how would America get dragged in? He goes, you know how it's going to start? And we were 15 years old talking about this. He said, it's going to be like a football stadium, a hockey game, and 50,000 people are going to be vaporized, and it's going to come out as a country somewhere far over, and they're going to say, fuck you, America. And that's how Americans are going to be galvanized and go, that's it. We're going into Syria now. I think Syria is now the country. We didn't know what the country would be back then, but I think about that conversation. I still talk to my buddy, and I say, man, you remember that conversation? He goes, yeah. And he goes, that's going to be America's Pearl Harbor for the World War III. And it's just going to, and it's all orchestrated, because you hear Congress, they don't have the support. Obama doesn't have the support. But if you blew up an NFL football stadium, of course, now all the Joe Six-Packs in America are going to be like, I'm grabbing my gun and let's go get them, and
totally.
And I see.
But we're on
a
level.
Syria is a fork in the road right now, and humanity as a total has a choice to not support the government, even if, let's say, a stadium was blown up. I think that would be like a next Pearl Harbor. People have got to just say, no, enough is enough. We can't, or you take that other fork in the road, and which is probably the fork everyone is going to take. And, even my fellow Canadians and the military here, they'll get dragged into it, and it hurts my heart to think about this stuff. But yeah, it's just a point I want to bring up with the next kind of United States is Pearl Harbor, or England too. You could blow up a soccer stadium. I think that's what it's going to be. My friend and I predicted it 25 years ago.
Well, what did we just have, Trevor, happen recently? They did some tests on the subways here, the gas test.
Right.
Remember that?
Yeah,
I
think
it's in London.
We could look at on another level is maybe if we were going to get really sinister and really dark, which I know Gareth likes, is you could be looking at some mass blood sacrifice, we need a huge war, and then of course we need to bring in Alex because we're talking dates and times and all those crazy numbers. But you could be looking at it from that point of view, where the powers that be, those people that move in those secret societies, know it's time for some huge, global sacrifice for some fucking weird reason or whatever.
Now, I want to get Ben and Alex's take on this. So this is directed solely to Ben and Alex, and either one of you can jump in on this. But what's the ultimate benefit for the elite if this goes according to plan? What's going to be the benefit? Why are they moving us towards war? What's the great payoff that they're going to get?
You want to go first, Alex?
Sure.
Okay, mate.
I've got another point I'd like to come back to later, if I may, which links England to America, how Joe was taking on things there. But yeah, I can say one view that I think I'm quite close to, and we are going a bit more fringe. Well, we're moving from a new age, from Pisces to Aquarius. There is change coming, isn't there, Mr. Obama? But I think he knows. I think his script knows more than he does. And those in power, and I'm not talking about your politicians, they want to maintain power. And one of the ways is not war, although from destruction, from chaos they can rebuild. One of the ways is, perhaps, as Reeve said, mass sacrifice. And maybe that is what we're seeing, that on a global scale there is timing, there are events that will be mass sacrifice in order to keep control and power. Whatever that is, isn't necessarily important. I mean, one thing I heard not too long ago, someone said, those who are in power, they're a bit fed up. They must be, because they're realizing what they're in power of isn't very good. It's not very proud. It's not a great house to show people around your world, when there's all these wars and destruction. So what do? Do you maybe one thing you do is you knock the house down and you build another one.
Right.
And you don't know exactly how that house will be or what the neighbours will be like, but that's maybe what's going on here, I think. And this is far deeper and disgusting than any small war about chemical weapons. But that's a bit fringe. Ben?
There are often many reasons why these things take place, and different people in different levels of initiation are often goaded into supporting and promoting their part of the conspiracy, for their own reasons on whatever level they're on. Of course, on one level it's political, it's economic. At a higher level, as you, Alex, and Reeves have said, it's occult, spiritual, on a dark level, on a black magical level. The principal reason for war, as Orwell said, war is not designed to be won or lost, but to be continuous. That's very true. So again, this goes into the spiritual, into the sort of psychological, the mass psychological effect it would have. It seems that they cannot go 50 years without some kind of war, major war, and they have lots of little ones in between. It's almost like their lifeblood for the elite, and it's you can imagine it's obviously it's a key part of our relationship with these people we've allowed to rule us. Now, as far as this particular war goes, it's obvious that they're aiming for it. They've been after it for a long time. They've been going for it since 9/11 at least, and now they've maybe found another way to achieve it. The aim is, of course, ordo ab chaos, as you were saying, Alex. Order out of chaos. The war will create a situation in which they can rebuild in society, global society, in a different form to what it is now. This was certainly the case after World War II. It was certainly the case after the First World War as well. What plans that will take, I don't know. But it's going to be bad news for us. Whatever new form the world will take, it's not going to be for our benefit.
Yeah.
My guess is it's going to be more. There's going to be more and more tighter controls on everything in life. My guess is there's going to be maybe a restructuring of the international order. Possibly, like I said, NAFTA becoming stronger, the European Union, various other international organisations coming together, NATO reforming and expanding. Maybe, because presumably if Russia and China come in, then you have the potential for a world war. You've got two evenly matched sides. An alliance between Russia and China, I think, would terrify me, So after that, you could well see a new Cold War between, a new power block of Russia and China versus the United States and whatever allies she can find.
Right. It sounds a little bit like Eurasia and... East Eurasia or whatever it is. It'd be
ironic if Britain
it's very similar to that,
wouldn't it? And if the rest of Europe joined China and Britain became airstrip one,
right? But yeah, it's. I think both Alex and Ben are hitting nails firmly on heads in regard to this. There is a kind of restructure, consolidation of power. And ultimately, I think this is incredibly bad news for humanity. This is nothing but negativity, but incredibly positive, wonderful news for those that run the show.
I want to come back.
I'll go ahead, Alex. I'm sorry about that.
No,
go ahead.
I want to come back to what you were saying, really, on how the American people were. Okay, and how you don't like to be misrepresented, I think is what you're saying, really, by your politicians.
Yeah.
Last Sunday I went and saw Santos, an amazing, for lack of a better word, spiritual day, but deep connections, lots of things going on. Great day. The day before that, on Saturday, was like a national day, a global day of anti-Syrian war protests. Okay, and there was several going on around London, so I decided to just have a walk around to the usual type of places where they happen. Okay, and at one point I went to Trafalgar Square, and I went there a little bit late. I know the protest had just finished, but I thought perhaps it would gain some momentum and there'd be more people coming, and it's like a focal point of where these things happen. And I sat on some steps to the side a little bit, and I just watched. And what I saw was no protest, just literally 4 or 5 people with some signs. I saw people walking around. It was a beautiful sunny day, going shopping, looking at the scenery, chatting about, I don't know, what they'd just eaten. And it was so sad, because this was potentially a protest against one of the largest potential wars ever to happen. And it wasn't even people weren't protesting. I had a huge sense that people just did not care. And that is not what I want in this world. I want people to care. And I've been on other protests, two protests. I've been around those things. I've seen mass numbers of people. It was not there. And when you're talking about Americans not being able to point where a country is on a map, I don't think people care about the map anymore. Yeah. And the final point I want to say on that is the Iraqs, the Afghanistans, the Libyas, and so many other things. But those 3 key places, I think they've given people a false sense of security. That they've happened and we've kind of continued. We haven't suffered, really. And I think that's kind of subconsciously what's going on with people. They're thinking, well, Syria's over there, wherever it is, it will happen. If they do, they don't. Those crazy politicians don't agree with them, but whatever. And they haven't really grasped the point that this could be... It could be on their doorstep. It's like your Japan Hiroshima Joe mentioned, or your Fukushimas. All that radiation happens over there. No, the event happened there. All the radiation drifts over the Pacific straight to the US. It's coming right back to you.
Mm-hmm. It is.
Yeah, all things are connected, and I've rambled a bit there, haven't I?
no, Alex, I understand what you're saying too. Like, yeah, but people still don't care about Fukushima. It's sad. But yeah, when you say it's going to have to hit on their doorstep, there's going to have to be a Manchester.
Oh, we lost him.
There's got to be a Manchester.
He broke up.
I can't disagree with that one.
There has to be a Manchester.
The Olympics now next to Fukushima. The Olympics in 20...
As a Canadian, I picked the most popular team I could think of in my head. But imagine that. There's how many people fit in that stadium, and all of a sudden it's vaporized. Then the English people will go, well, fuck you, whoever did that. Same thing in the States. I mean, Christ, if you blow up a New York Yankees stadium, Christ, it would be. That's when it hits on the doorstep.
Right.
Canada, Christ, if they blew up one of our hockey arenas, we'd be up in arms.
Yeah.
But that's what it's going to take for Canadians. They'd have to probably blow up the CN Tower, one of the biggest landmarks in Canada. That's what it's going to take. Because people, you're right, they don't care. I don't care. It happens over there. 100,000 Syrians died. Who cares? But 100,000 Americans or Canadians, or I don't know. I hate using those terms because I always think of us as just humans. But
yeah, it divides us.
It does divide us. It's like every time I go to the border, they say citizenship, and I say, well, I always want to say I'm human from planet Earth. But then I say, well, I hate going over. That's just a little side topic, but that's what it's going to take. I live in Calgary. Someone's going to have to vaporize downtown here to wake people up, and that's
you're
the
so
sad
right
part.
about that. People here, Trevor, are the same way. They don't want. They're saying, well, we weren't attacked. Why should we go in there? It's none of our business. It's these politicians. But at the same time, it is disturbing that people are like that they don't care about the rest of the world, but just what's going on here. And I find it disturbing, too, that these politicians, like McCain, he ran for president. He's always been pro-war. I mean, he was supporting the Iraq war when he was running for president. And then I remember John Kerry. I thought this is interesting how he's so pro-war now. When he ran for president, was he not the one that was against the Iraq war? And
well, there's that clip that's been doing the rounds with John Kerry where he was protesting the Vietnam War, and he served in Vietnam, and he was very pro-peace. I mean, there's images of him, on protest march with John Lennon and things like that. Very, protesting for peace, and now
what the hell would John Lennon think now?
He's flipped. Now he's suddenly
he's got different people whispering on his shoulder.
Yeah.
Thing is, these people are like chameleons, and they can change from, and they can change from butterflies into caterpillars and caterpillars into butterflies.
But this was a guy that was voted for president, Ben. I mean, this was a guy that was going to be president. And same thing with Obama. He is president, and he ran on the anti-war thing too.
Well, you know what I thought, Joe? As soon as I saw John Kerry talking the way he is, I think, my God, that guy was going to be president. We could have added him as as U.S. president. Think of that. And I thought, yeah, we got Bush instead. And it's like it makes a whole joke out of the whole political.
But it kind of would have been the same thing, I think, the same outcome probably. The way he's talking now.
If Kerry had won, if the Supreme Court said something different, or whatever elite masters had said something different, and John Kerry had come in instead of Bush, we'd be in the same situation now. Because 9/11 would still have happened.
Well, I want
exactly the things. I want to bring slightly more articulate, but you said the same things that George Bush had said.
Yeah, you're right. I want to bring something up in regard to Kelly, which is a little out there, a little fringe, a little weird, that may actually be nothing, but I can't stop myself from thinking about it. And that is that certain politicians throughout their career, you see them go to hospital around the January, February time, and you also see them on television looking like they've just been beaten up. In other words, big black eye, bruised face, all messed up. And then they kind of change. Now, this happened to Father Bush, George Bush Jr., Bill Clinton, and it's happened to John Kerry. And I found this very strange. That if all you got to do is search for John Kerry and his face, and he says, I did it playing hockey. George Bush did it when he choked on a pretzel. Bill Clinton had, I forget what happened with Clinton, but there's pictures online with his face all beaten up. And I strongly think there's something going on here. There's some kind of thread that ties all these beatings and these massive changes, that whether it's some kind of ceremony or ritual or something. And just look at John Kerry's face. The fuck is up with his chin? I'm being serious. Every time I see him on TV, I'm like, what is up with that guy's fucking face?
Maybe that's kind of what's happened to them, because, I mean, I've noticed the similar things, Gareth. What I've noticed is they tend to look a lot older when they get into power. This was certainly the case with Clinton and with Tony Blair. They aged 10 years in their first year in office.
Tony Blair, too. He went into hospital January, February, and he had bruises on his face.
Maybe they do something to them. I mean, it's funny, because, there's a guy called Robert Harris who's a writer in Nottingham here in England. He wrote a book called The Ghost Writer. It was made into a film called The Ghost, which is sort of like a satire on Tony Blair. He was a friend of Blair's, and he said when that man became Prime Minister, he completely changed. His entire personality flipped. He said he was quite a nice man originally. Then he turned into a monster, a demon. I mean, he didn't use those words, but I mean, they fell out totally immediately.
How do you join the Crips, or how do you join these big gangs? You get beaten in.
That's
you
right.
get beaten into them.
Yeah,
and then you never get out.
Yeah, there might be something to that. I mean, I don't know if I'm the only one who's noticing this, but several politicians, prominent politicians, will show up on TV or be interviewed, and their face is all fucked up, like they've just got a good beating.
Maybe they have like a blood sport.
I mean, it sounds crazy, I know, but who knows? I mean, I don't know.
They go into this big, secret manor house, and then they get taken down to the basement, and then they just generally get the shit kicked out of them.
They get beaten in.
And they've been beaten into the club.
On a serious note, it is violence, and these wars are violence, so maybe they just love violence.
I think they do.
And of course,
they love it.
In these part of the joining the Knights Templar, when you used to have to join the Knights Templar, you had to go through some pretty amazing. I mean, there's all kinds of rumours of what the rituals were. They included homosexual acts, torture, and as you were saying, it's like a gang. And it's not just it traumatises your mind, but it's also on another level. It's black magic. It's about I think it's about demonic possession.
Yeah.
And I mean, I know not you guys won't laugh at me. Some people would,
sure.
But I think there is an element of that to it.
I would agree. And maybe the physical representation of that initial switch being flipped is the massive bruising and the aging and the changing. But that sounds crazy, man. That sounds like the rambling of a fucking mental case.
We're a bunch of bloody loonies, as Brian Cox would say. A bunch of knobbers and twats.
All right, let's move away from the Syrian debacle, because no doubt we'll be discussing that next week after Bush has his speech, and we'll see what happens.
You mean Obama?
Did I say Bush?
Is there a difference?
I know. Is there a difference?
A few squares on the Dulux colour card, but apart from that, they're virtually identical, aren't they?
They are.
Except Obama is slightly more articulate.
Yeah, he is. He's very articulate, whereas Bush was
not saying much, is it?
Yeah. All right, let's change gears and get into our final couple of stories for today. Let's touch on a very famous celebrity in the UK and probably in other parts of the world also. Not so much in the United States. Don't know about Canada though. Maybe Trevor will fill us in on this once we play this clip. But Rolf Harris, he's a lovable old soul who lives in the UK, but he's originally from Australia. And he's a big-time celebrity who apparently had connections with Jimmy Savile and the like. And now then, as it happens. And he's just been busted for sex charges. Let's have a listen to this clip, then we'll get into it.
Veteran entertainer Rolf Harris has been charged with 13 child sex offences. Harris is the latest high-profile celebrity from the 70s and 80s to be accused by a massive police investigation into child abuse.
The song? Which one?
The 83-year-old has been charged with 9 counts of indecent assault related to 2 girls aged 14 and 15 in the 80s and 4 offences of making indecent images of a child last year. Harris was first arrested in March as part of Operation New Tree, which was set up in the wake of allegations against Jimmy Savile. The inquiry has led to the arrests of 14 men involved in the British entertainment industry in the 70s and 80s, with 4 people charged so far.
Kids and water, they love it.
God, blimey, that takes me back. The indecent images, are these like little cartoons you used to
I don't know,
scribble?
remember, because you always used to do, remember you used to have like the roller and the paint and make these big paintings on the wall and stuff?
Yeah, I used to love him when I was a kid.
Now, if we just do this right there, that's the kid's arsehole right there. And over here. I don't know. What's your deal here, Alex? This is your clip. So what's your take on this?
I didn't think we'd have time to get to this. And if you want to get away from war, you're not going to do it.
Okay.
Because this is about war.
All right. Please explain.
Maybe people wouldn't be thinking that. Well, as you know, I've got another very short clip. I think it's only 18 seconds long. But the key thing here is that our national treasures have been turned into national demons. And that isn't condoning, obviously, anything that they did. I mean, if they're monsters, they're monsters. Simple as that. But our perception of them has completely been changed. And I say been changed because if it wasn't for the presentation and the news and media on this, then we wouldn't know about it. We'd still look at them for their painting and charity work and whatever. So the 2 of the top people in this country, Jimmy Savile and Rolf Harris, top people for recognised as doing good work and bringing joy to people, they are now seen as potentially, and Rolf Harris I say potentially because he isn't convicted yet, of being monsters, real monsters amongst us. Yeah. So why is this? Okay, and I say it's because perhaps, I should add perhaps to everything I say, because of war. Because they are a warning to people. And you play my second clip and you'll see the warning that's coming out.
All right, here we go.
In case you hadn't already realised, the UK Houses of Parliament is filled to the rafters with perverts. A Freedom of Information request from the Huffington Post has revealed that parliamentary computers are being used to log on to XXX sites with alarming regularity. The request revealed a staggering 300,000 attempts to access websites containing pornographic material between May 2012 and June 2013. The report found Parliament's computers were also used for online shopping, gaming and downloading illegal music. Prime Minister David Cameron must be embarrassed by his fellow MPs, given his well-publicised and unpopular plan to block pornography in UK homes.
Embarrassed. He's probably embarrassed with himself after that shit was probably on his computer.
First, I'd like to apologise about all the strange sounds there, but I thought you'd enjoy them. Yeah, I mean, two things very briefly there. I'm joining some dots. Okay, Cameron wants to restrict and monitor the internet. That would make sense as a new age, a new war. Who's publicly being said they're using porn sites a lot? The Houses of Parliament, the MPs. Who do we need to control during times of war and sensitive times? All of the MPs. Okay, and so if we're going to expose our top celebrities, our people that everybody would have looked at and said, "Oh, you couldn't say that about him," they won't think twice about it for an MP. And so we're told they're accessing sites or something. And even if they're accessing, I don't know, run-of-the-mill porn, they're all going to be a little bit more worried now. And I think this is a huge public message saying. Or trying to keep people controlled, perhaps as a preempt to events that are going to happen later. That's a long answer to poor old Rolf, isn't it? And I say poor old Rolf in the sense how we used to see him.
I was speaking to Gareth earlier regarding Jimmy Savile and Freddie Starr and Rolf Harris. And I was watching an old clip on YouTube of Jim Will Fix It. It's like Gareth said, when you watch stuff back in hindsight, you can see certain keys and certain elements that you wouldn't have noticed when you watched before. And I'm watching this short 5-minute clip, and it's Jimmy Savile, and he's got a guest in the studio. And the clip that I watched, 2 clips. One was with Gary Glitter, and one was with Freddie Starr. Freddie Starr was in the studio, and he said, and he was invited to come and meet some of the children, which were from a local board stool or something like that. They'd been brought in, and the way that Jimmy Savile said, he said, "Come on, Freddie, take your pick. Come on, take your pick. Come on, sit down with them." And he kind of sit down and puts his arms around them, and it's kind of like you're watching it thinking, what's in their mind when is he telling the people, he's being like, come over and take your pick of these kids. Which ones do you want to sit next to? And you kind of watch back in hindsight and you think, what do they actually mean there? Is that some sort of fucking code? Are they using it, or is it so blatant? Is it really that blatant? And so this Rolf Harris thing, and it's kind of like they're throwing all these elderly. I don't want to sound any of our elderly listeners. I don't want to sound like an arse or nothing, but when it comes to these presenters, they're in their later years now, and it seems to me that they're throwing them, they're tossing them out there, throwing them under the bus. They've known about them for a long time. Let's put them in the news. Let's put them in the face of the news. Let's burn them. Let's use them to bring in our laws that we want to bring in, because everybody knows who these celebrities are. Oh, they're awful people. With exception of, we do know that people like Gary Glitter have done some pretty fucking horrific things, but maybe they already knew what they were up to, but they now is the time that they're burning them and they're throwing them out there because it will get their public on their side and think, yes, we need these laws. Bring in more laws. It's a kind of goes back to the whole game, playing a game.
What about this? Many, many years ago, when these guys weren't famous, there was a conversation. Conversation went something like this: if you do what we say, you'll be rich, famous, have your pick of whomever you want. And one day in the future, might be tomorrow, might be 50 years from now, but one day we're going to ask you to do something for us. And you cannot refuse.
Yeah.
And,
like in that,
and something happened. And now, because they're all in their 70s and 80s, and now they're all being pulled out.
Yeah. They're all being thrown under the bus, so to speak.
It's like film The Bow. You've ever seen the movie The Bow? The Brotherhood of the Bow?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's it. That's exactly what happens. They force him to do something. He has to ruin the career of his best friend, and he doesn't want to do it. And they say, too bad, you got to do it.
Yeah. Maybe something.
But the question is, why are they doing it now? If we assume they had this information for a long time, why are they releasing it now? And so my suggestion is it's planned, it's staged to put fear into all of Parliament and more, that, you're going to have this come down on you if you say the wrong thing or something similar.
Yeah.
And they're openly admitting in the press or presenting to us that all the politicians are using porn anyway.
Jimmy Savile, good friend of Thatcher, good friend of the Queen. Rolf Harris, Freemason, good friend of the Queen.
Yeah.
You got all these people with all these fucking
royal connections,
and they're all being thrown under the bus right now for what things that they've done in their seedy things they've done in their past. It's all
to
coming
protect
to light.
The bigger guys. They're obviously they're tossing these to the crocodiles because it's the bigger guys want to stay safe. I mean, Rolf Harris, of course, his song "Two Little Boys" is Knights Templar symbolism. Completely. I mean, he is. I think he's an initiate.
Yeah, could be. So, Trevor and Joe, I know that these names might not be familiar with you, but do you have any take on this?
Yeah, I actually don't know who this Rolf is. It Rolf or Ralph Harris?
Rolf Harris.
Rolf Harris. Again, he's just a pawn to be used for future whenever they need to pull his card out of the deck there and say, okay, we're going to use you. It's your time. It's again comes back to government laws. It's planned. It's all planned. You're right. I like how you pointed that out, Gareth. That someone came to him and said, "Hey, yeah, you could be rich, famous, and when we need to use you." It's like when The Godfather says, "I'll help you," but when I come to you, you can't refuse me. Like, and if you do, we'll just wipe your family out, maybe.
Or something.
Yeah. Because I don't know who this fella is. I'd have to research him more. I take it he's an older guy. So, yeah, he's had his time in the sun, and now he's like, maybe he's just, 80 years old?
Yeah, he's like 83, I think. So he's getting on.
Yeah, he's probably thinking, he's had his time in the sun. And he's like, okay, just use me, and let's... Yeah, it's all a game. People are put in these positions, and I often wonder how people get into the positions they are, and how do people get to be where they're at?
Well, they play the game.
Yeah, like someone could come to me today and say, "Hey, you're going to be rich and famous. You're the one who's going to find Bigfoot." That's my thing. We know you like him, so we're going to use you as a pawn to somehow, and then I'll be the guy who gets ripped apart in the forest finding him, probably. But
it turned out that you were molesting Bigfoot at the end.
I was.
That's a conspiracy I've not heard of before. That's
I
new.
Wouldn't try and molest a fucking Bigfoot.
Not a conversation you have every day, is it? That one?
Yes, I try to. So I see this as, again, they have so many people in the deck. They pull them out when they need them. And they can be young, too.
Can I mention to Trevor who these people were? They were basically light entertainers. That's all they ever were initially, yeah? And they ended up with Jimmy Savile mixing with Prince Charles, inviting him to his house, and Rolf Harris ended up painting the Queen. Oh. I mean, there's quite a coincidence there, isn't there?
Yeah, there is. And no one's talking about whether or not Prince Charles should be involved in this or questioned or anything like that. That's out of the question.
I never go there, Gareth.
They're pulling in everyone that Jimmy Savile might have even said good morning to on a Saturday morning in 1976. They're pulling them in and questioning them, but nobody's questioning Prince Charles, where he had a long-standing friendship and relationship with Prince Charles, and nobody's talking about that. Nobody, zero.
And these things happened a long time ago. I mean, I just find it weird how they come out now. Years later, 20 years later, whatever, all of a sudden now these charges are being trumped up. I don't know if they really did it or not. I mean, I just wonder. Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, sorry, Joe. I didn't mean to cut you off. I was just,
But yeah, I mean, you don't know. I mean, if this happened, I mean, do you guys really think he did this or just a plan, like you're saying?
I don't know if it really matters. Again, government laws. They want to make more laws. Keep us in control. Keep us in line.
Yeah.
Freedom on the internet. How much longer do we have to speak like this on the internet? It'll come to the point where I'm like, I guess I can just talk to the people in my local community on the internet now. I can't communicate with people from around the world. And, I can't find out what's going on in L.A. or England or Florida.
That's a whole huge topic there, Trevor. And we, unless we want to do a 4-hour show today, I think we should kind of move past that. And let's start wrapping it up for the day. We've had a great conversation, some great topics, some great discussions, some thought-provoking conversations. Thank you all for coming by today and taking part. Let's see where everyone can be discovered on the internet. Let's start with Trevor. Trevor, where can you be found on the internet?
Facebook right now, just Trevor Murray on Facebook. I did start a company in July, or a store. Still under works and whatnot, getting my supplies in. But what it does get up, it's the Bigfoot mountain survival gear. That's my shtick, I guess. I like to go out to the mountains. Actually, I just bought a metal detector too, so I'm kind of a gold feverish kind of guy too. So
very cool.
If you want to find me, I'm in the Rocky Mountains. Just use your GPS.
Trevor, there was a story here. Some people, they were out on a boat here off the coast. They found $300,000 worth of Spanish gold from 300 years ago.
Oh, jeez.
Nice.
Yeah, isn't that amazing?
That's That's where I'd like to be.
All right, let's shoot over. Joe, where can you be found?
Yeah, at Mindset Central, you can listen to Mindset Radio Hour and Mindset Daily and Mindset Live. And, of course, Florida Trailblazer on YouTube. I mentioned hiking and stuff. Like Trevor likes to go in the mountains. I like to hike as well. And you can find my videos right there on Florida Trailblazer on YouTube.
Excellent. Ben, where can you be found?
Hapanwo, Hospital Porters Against the New World Order, and all its associated websites, YouTube channel, and radio broadcasts.
Excellent. And Reeves?
Paranormal.info and also mindsetcentral.com. Paratalk, brand new episodes coming very, very, very soon.
Very soon. And finally, last but not least, Alex.
Just type Alex Fate into the search browser or go to alexfate.com, Facebook Mindset groups. And also I put out a couple of videos recently, one just very short one, but one facing fear. That seems to be quite popular.
Very good. All right, thank you all.
That was good, yeah.
And we'll be back next week with more topics, more discussions. But until then... Oh, I hit the wrong button. Can you believe it? But until then, farewell, good brothers.